The Excavation of Hobbs Barrow comes out just in time for Spooky October and delivers a very satisfying point-and-click adventure with a touch of horror thrown in. As this was played with a press key and is a very narrative-driven adventure game, we're back to slideshow mode for this review. The story of The Excavation of Hobbs Barrow finds us playing as Thomasina Bateman, an antiquarian in Victoria, England. She is summoned one day to a mysterious town to, as the title says, excavate Hobbs Barrow. And unfortunately, this being a spooky horror/adventure game, it means we're going to be dealing with not only the mysterious locals, a haunting mystery, but, you guessed it, point-and-click adventure puzzle solving. The game itself is structured around the different days you're going to be spending in the town. Each day has its own puzzles, dialogues, and of course, lots and lots of items for you to find in order to move on to the next. As you move through the game, more and more of the village and surrounding areas will make themselves open. One thing I really like about the game from an aesthetic point of view is the art and just the design of the town and the area itself. It has that very local, mysterious feel to it. This is not a horror game where you're going to end up fighting demons and having to save all of reality. This is a game where you're just going to wander around a village with that very unnerving sense of dread all around you. And that is further emphasized by the game's use of cutscenes. While most of the game is played through the pixel style 2D as we all come to know and love, there are cutscenes that play for specific events that show more of a detail to the characters and the surroundings. Some of this stuff is used to really great effect to raise the terror factor. Now, for those of you watching this who aren't fans of horror, The Excavation of Hobbs Barrow definitely plays out more like a spooky tale as opposed to full-on horror. There are a few disturbing images I won't be showing here, but all in all, if you're used to kind of like more modern horror games or even just some of the classics, you should be more than suited to play this one. But like I said, if you're trying to play this with, children nearby, probably not. It may get a little extreme in some areas. In terms of the puzzle solving itself, the game, I would say, ranks moderate to moderately difficult. It's definitely a step up from some of the other adventure games we've reviewed here on the channel, but it doesn't come nowhere near as crazy as the golden age of adventure games. Now, I do have a few issues with the puzzles that I'll come back to in a second. But the presentation is certainly on point. Everyone is fully voiced, you have the haunting areas to explore, and of course, seeing as this is published by Watchet Eye, there is a full developer's commentary where you can learn more about the game and the process of making everything that is in it. But with that said, The Excavation of Hobbs Barrow is a great game. It just leaves me with a few minor issues that kind of took the game away from being spooky to being more frustrating. And we're going to talk about that next, but first a quick break. If you're interested in my thoughts on design, then be sure to check out my game design books. For entry-level students, we have 20 Essential Games to Study, and then the Game Design Deep Dive series that takes an extensive look at different genres, with more coming soon. The Excavation of Hobbs Barrow is first and foremost an adventure game, or more specifically, point and click. And while the game does feature some modern conveniences, it can still be a bit challenging in a few spots. I like that there is the option to turn on or view all available hotspots in the area, and you do get a fast travel that will allow you to go to any major point that you've already been to. With that said, the puzzle solving, as I talked about in the previous section, can get a bit frustrating in some areas. This is a game that is heavily dependent on conversation and event triggers to move you through each possible chain in the story. What that means is that if you miss a conversation or you didn't talk to someone in the right order, it can completely wreck your ability to solve a puzzle. There is one part in the game where, because I didn't go down one conversation tree, even though I knew what I had to do to move the story along, the game refused to give me the option until I went back and went through this entire conversation with another character. The general puzzles also involve you having to look around for a lot of miscellaneous items. This is one of those adventure games where you will be MacGyvering some solutions here and there. But to make things a little bit more frustrating, there are several triggers that will move characters around or introduce new characters in the areas that weren't there before. And it's very easy, especially once you start making use of fast travel, to casually skip that one area where a new character is, and once again you're kind of left wandering around going, why can't I solve any more puzzles? Now, all the puzzles are built within the world itself. There are no kind of crazy math or logic puzzles in this game. And the game does, I think, a pretty good job of escalating the difficulty of them throughout it. However, the final quarter of the game, which I won't be spoiling here, is very much a step above everything else, both in terms of the story as well as the puzzle difficulty. And there was one puzzle that I had absolutely no idea how to solve, and thankfully someone left the solution on the forum to it, otherwise I wouldn't have finished the game. So I would have probably liked maybe a little bit more guidance in that respect. But again, if you are an adventure game aficionado, this should be par for the course for you. So with everything said, it is of course Halloween, or the month of Halloween, and if you are looking for not so much a gratuitously violent and horrific horror game, but a game that tells a very great and mysterious story, definitely check out the Excavation of Hobbs Barrow. I'd like to thank the developers for giving me a press key to play it. As always, if you would like me to play your game for a future stream or video, please get in touch. Do that liking, subscribing, and commenting, and check out our Discord and Patreon. Come back for daily discussions on game design here, and on game wisdom, where it's in the art and science of games.